Switzerland feels less like a country and more like an equation, a place where everything functions with clockwork grace, where order is not enforced but expected. Mountains frame its borders like marble walls around a vault. The trains glide in silence. The people move as if rhythm itself is part of citizenship. But behind that immaculate surface hides a paradox few ever see. The richest, most disciplined nation on earth has built the gentlest prisons in modern history. In this land of gold, chocolate, and quiet neutrality, punishment looks nothing like punishment at all. Murderers cook their own meals, thieves attend classes, guards greet inmates by first name. And yet crime here is rare. Switzerland's prisons are calm, clean, and eerily peaceful, like reflections of the country outside their walls. How did perfection lead to softness? How does control coexist with compassion? The answer lies deep inside the Swiss idea of design. To understand it, you must first grasp how the Swiss see failure. Failure to them isn't moral, it's mechanical. Trains don't run late because timetables are sacred. They run on time because the system refuses to allow error. The same philosophy governs law, finance, and education. A Swiss watch doesn't punish its gears when one slips, it adjusts the mechanism. Society works the same way. When someone breaks the rules, the question is not who is evil, but what broke in the machine. That question shapes everything. Walk into Thorberg or Hindelbank, two of Switzerland's oldest prisons, and you'll see it. Sunlight streaming through wide windows, soft wood instead of steel, quiet corridors without shouting. The air smells of bread from kitchens where inmates cook. There are paintings on the walls. Each prisoner has a counselor, a social worker, a reintegration plan. These are not cages, they're laboratories for rebuilding routine. The goal is not revenge, it's recalibration. It sounds utopian, even absurd, but the numbers silence doubt. Only 1 in 5 Swiss prisoners reoffends. In the United States, nearly 2 out of 3 do. Switzerland doesn't believe in breaking people. It believes in fixing context. Crime to them is disorder, something to be rebalanced through structure and trust. And structure is everywhere. Lights switch on at the same time. Meals are scheduled to the minute. Predictability becomes therapy. When chaos disappears, rehabilitation begins. But kindness here is strategic. Every freedom is deliberate, every comfort controlled. Guards train as mediators, not enforcers. Inmates in open prisons leave daily for work and return by evening, by choice. They rarely escape, not because they can't, but because rebellion has no target. The system doesn't suppress freedom, it absorbs it. Responsibility becomes the invisible wall. This isn't leniency, it's psychological precision. Switzerland's whole society functions on that principle. Banks, schools, politics, each operates on transparency that breeds obedience. When citizens trust the system, they protect it. When rules feel fair, punishment becomes unnecessary. That's why Swiss law is light, but loyalty runs deep. People follow order not out of fear, but because order feels natural. The result? Safety without surveillance, discipline without threat. Yet perfection carries its own shadow. Critics call it the velvet cage. The same predictability that keeps the streets calm can smother individuality. If everything is planned, there's no room for chaos, and without chaos, there's no change. Inmates often describe their first weeks as unsettlingly peaceful. Then that peace becomes comfort, then habit. Eventually, it feels permanent. True control doesn't need violence, it only needs familiarity. Look beyond the prisons and you'll see the same psychology everywhere. Immigration rules are firm yet polite. Political debates end with handshakes. Even rebellion is organized. Switzerland has achieved social order not through dominance, but through design. an architecture of behavior so elegant that resistance seems impolite. The system doesn't shout, it whispers. And that whisper says, you don't need to fight what already works. Sociologists see parallels between Swiss justice and modern digital life. Social media, smart cities, even workplace cultures now use the same formula. Reward obedience with comfort. Your phone tracks you, but it also entertains you. The trade is invisible. Control disguised as convenience. Switzerland's prisons simply expose the pattern. They are microcosms of a world where freedom is managed, not earned. Perhaps that's why the model fascinates other nations. Norway's Halden prison copied it almost exactly. Singapore applies similar structured trust in its governance. Each proves the same idea. If you design an environment so stable that defiance feels unnatural, people will discipline themselves. Switzerland just did it first, and with more grace than anyone else. Still, there's risk in that perfection. A system built to prevent chaos can also prevent evolution. The very smoothness that keeps Switzerland safe might one day make it brittle. When a machine runs flawlessly, even a tiny malfunction can bring collapse. The Swiss know this. It's written in their architecture, their neutrality, their caution. They preserve balance not out of arrogance, but fear of entropy. Everything works until it doesn't. So the story of Switzerland's prisons isn't really about crime. It's about control through compassion, obedience through comfort. It's about a country that replaced authority with architecture. The punishment isn't the cell, it's the structure itself. Soft, silent, persuasive. When inmates walk free, they carry that structure inside them. Trust turned habit, discipline turned instinct. It's tempting to admire this, a world without fear, a justice system that heals instead of harms. But we should also ask, what's the price of perfection? When freedom feels so safe that no one questions it, has it already disappeared? The Swiss model shows how quickly kindness can become command, how empathy can evolve into expectation. A system that corrects every flaw eventually corrects the human need to be flawed. Maybe that's the hidden truth. The softer the control, the deeper it runs. Switzerland built a society that doesn't need harsh prisons because everyone already lives within invisible ones. Not walls of concrete, but of conscience. Not barbed wire, but stability. It's beautiful and slightly terrifying. The world today seems eager to follow that path. Corporations design behavior through comfort. Algorithms reward predictability. Governments promise safety in exchange for spontaneity. Every time we choose ease over uncertainty, we choose the velvet cage. Switzerland just made it look like paradise. So perhaps the lesson isn't that the Swiss are naive, but that they've mastered the future. They've proven that control doesn't need cruelty, it just needs consistency. A perfect society doesn't shout commands, it designs them. And its citizens obey, not because they must, but because they can't imagine not doing so. In the end, the paradox remains. The safest societies aren't the ones that punish best, but those that make punishment irrelevant. Switzerland didn't conquer crime, it engineered it out of existence. Yet perfection has a cost measured not in money, but in mystery. The more flawless life becomes, the less room there is for surprise. And without surprise, humanity itself begins to fade. That is the price of perfection: calm, control, and the slow erosion of unpredictability. The one element that keeps life alive. But maybe that's exactly what we crave. A world without fear, without noise. A world that feels like Switzerland. Clean, calm, precise, and curious absolute. Next time, we'll explore a different masterpiece of design, a project that cost $15 billion and was destined to fail before it ever took flight. A monument not to perfection, but to the art of collapse. This is Global Deep Dive. Uncover the unseen before it quietly covers you.